And good morning.
Good morning.
I bet you we're talking to a lot of sleepyheads this morning.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people that stayed up late to watch Lost.
Yeah, it was the big finale.
The series finale, not the season finale.
Oh, no. It's over, Johnny.
There's going to be no movie, right, Ant?
No. No movie.
And a lot of people know I never even saw one episode of Lost. So I'm going to just sit back and relax for the next hour as you guys discuss this. There wasn't a Sopranos ending either, right?
No, it wasn't as vague like the Sopranos ending. I mean, if you just think about what happened, the ending.
Snow globe?
It's yeah.
Was it a snow globe?
It was an autistic kid holding a snow globe, and the whole thing was just like a dream or something. And then Bob Newhart woke up, and he was
that's what happened?
Laying in bed next to his wife from another show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we can move on with other things.
It was great.
How about those Mets? Mets looked good over the weekend.
Yeah. Did they?
Over your Yankees.
Yeah. A-Rod with another swing and a miss to end the whole fucking game.
Is he slumping?
Runners on base. Well,
Is your A-Rod slumping it?
All the Yankees are kind of slumping. I mean, they're losing games.
A lot of games?
Yeah, more than they were losing at the beginning of the season. That's for shit sure.
Uh-oh.
And against the Mets, stop it.
Uh-oh.
Stop it.
Fire everyone.
You're far.
So, Lost. Why don't you guys get into this? Because I've been listening to you guys talk about it this morning, and I just told you, it's like you guys are part of some weird cult, and I'm trying to get info on it, and I just can't because you guys are too damn good talking in vagary.
You can't explain the final episode and the finale to people that haven't watched the show.
Right.
Because then it just does sound like very vague and very odd kind of a thing. You can't really, it's not like a reality show where you can go, oh, he picked this bitch to, be with.
Yeah. Well, I could kind of host this. I mean, Jimmy, a big fan. You're a big fan. Travis is a big fan. Were you guys happy with the series finale?
A lot of people, that was their number one question, asking, I think it was a good ending? Did I? And yes.
Yes?
I liked it.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was a good ending. A lot of people like things really wrapped up tidy.
Well, because we have lives to live.
Well,
don't leave it to us to figure out.
You know
Wrap
what?
it up nice so I could go to work on Monday.
It was wrapped up. It really was wrapped up.
Yeah.
But it does make you. I don't want to watch it and then step away and go, all right, well that's over. Like you sit here and if you're talking with somebody that had watched it, you really are kind of hashing things out, trying to think, what the fuck was that? And like this ending was kind of, you're still left with what the fuck was the island? What was it?
Christian said, "This is the place you all made together, so you can find one another. You're not leaving. You're moving on. This is the place you all made together."
Yeah, but is it what the fantasy sideways? Flash Sideways is that the life they had made that to get them all together? Because that's where they figured out who each other was. Or is the island a place that was made to get them all together? Were they really on an island? What of the Dharma Initiative? Was that a real thing? Was that what? Now Travis is shaking his head. Yes.
I think
How do you know?
I think they were all dead the entire time. I firmly believe that.
You're so wrong.
How am I wrong?
Oh my God.
Christian said, you were on that island. Everything you did happened.
Okay.
Everything they did happened. When he says that this is the place that you guys created for yourselves, he's talking about that purgatory limbo Flash Sideways.
Okay.
That's where they were to atone for whatever they did to.
So what were they all dead from then? If they all needed
they
to,
all
move
they all
on?
died at different times.
Different
they didn't
times from
necessarily
different
die
things.
at the same time. Who knows how long Hurley and Ben stayed on that island?
Yeah, that's true. He said, you were good number one, you were good number two. Like Ben and Hurley were on the island for a while. And
we don't know how long they were
there.
there.
They finally dropped dead at some point. Like they didn't all die at the same time.
And now they're all moving on together.
Right. So some of them had to kind of hang out.
Saeed died when Saeed died.
Right,
Jin's-
but when did Kate die?
We don't know.
Could have been years later
Yeah.
of old age.
So wait. So you think that Hurley just died, or Kate just died at some point from something, and yet moved on when they all did?
Yes.
To me, that makes no sense.
It's almost like Jack waiting at the Titanic steps for the old broad to come back. It's one of those things where it's weird time thing. It's not like you waited. They weren't sitting there in the little church thing, tapping their foot, looking at their little fucking celestial watches, going, "Where the fuck is that person?" It's like it's kind of this weird celestial body thing where there's no real time and space, but when they all were dead, that's when they were all able to get together and move on, as they say, into the heavenly light. And
I think they were very quick to point out when Christian was talking. He said, everything that's ever happened to you is real. I think that they were very...
So they didn't want to cop out on
they
on
wanted
what
to
is
make
the
it
island.
completely obvious that this actually happened.
See, I thought when he said that it's something that happened to them in that split second that they were dying. Like it's almost like all the flash forward and the flash sideways. It was trying to find a way in that moment to fix what needed to be fixed. And then when they all had fixed what needed to be fixed, as many of them that could move on did. Ben wasn't ready to move on. Michael wasn't ready to move on. That's how I took it.
Yeah, you're right.
And
but I didn't believe that they just left it up to fate. Like, Kate must have died at one point. She was there.
So
he said we all die at some time.
You're saying, but he said people died before you and people died after you. He told Jack that. I think it wasn't in that split second. I don't think they all died in the plane crash. I don't think it was like that nanosecond kind of a thing.
Oh, I think they died in the crash, and that's why the end of it was just him in the exact same place that the series opened. That was where his body wound up. He fucking got thrown out of the plane and he died in the weeds. That was exactly where the series opened. Was him laying in those weeds with his eyes opened to start the series in those weeds, and his eyes closed in the exact same spot. How did that happen? And why did they close on the plane crash? They close on the wreckage. Nothing built, no sign of civilization, just a fucking burned out husk of a plane.
Pretty good.
To me, that is exactly why they had Jack die there.
But why didn't they all die at the same time if it was a plane crash?
What's that?
Well, why didn't they all die at the same time if it was a plane crash?
I think they
saying they did.
I think
You're
they
saying
did.
they did, but,
sure.
But Ann, are you saying that?
No.
I don't believe they ever survived that crash.
But maybe they're dying within milliseconds of each other.
Maybe
it's a time thing.
Maybe that's just it.
Like to us, everyone dies in a plane crash at the exact same time, but technically it's
so there could be before and after.
And I don't know why, by the way. Like there's certain like loss experts might be able to explain Dharma and all these other things. Like maybe Albert maybe the island is a place that you go to before you move on, like a fucking call it purgatory, call it what you want. And maybe Albert was there because he wasn't able to move on. He may not have been obviously in the plane crash, and other people that they met there may not have been in the plane crash. And there's parts of it I don't get. But to
they
me,
were
the people,
other people that were kind of just there in limbo, kind of.
Right, and they were somehow. But to me, it was like watching flash sideways, fast forward. The flashbacks were telling you who these people were.
Right. Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, how they wound up, what their lives were. But the others, to me, the fucking flash forward and the flash sideways were them punching their way out of a bag immediately. Like, do this, doing all of these things to try to fix what was wrong before they could move on. Then they were able to let go, either by getting what they thought they wanted or whatever it was. Again, that I'm not able to explain. Otherwise,
so you think that they all died
immediately? I don't understand why else to me. And I always thought that because I could, and it confirmed it for me at the end when they had him lay in the exact same spot the series opened. His body got thrown. That's where he died.
So you're thinking that happened like?
I completely disagree.
Why? What? I don't understand.
He was stabbed by the man in black, and he fell and he died there.
And
that was a full circle moment that the series opens with him opening his eyes, and the series closes.
But why in the exact same spot?
That's just how it happened.
I don't buy that.
That's a story that comes full circle.
And what if that stab wound was just a piece of wreckage?
Of course.
That went into him and that killed him.
Or the wound didn't matter. Maybe the wound didn't matter. Him because he was wearing a suit in the opening and he was wearing a different thing. It didn't matter.
Yeah, it was because two separate things happened.
I don't think they would have had him die in that exact same spot.
I think you're reading way too much into it, actually.
Not really. They all just died in a plane crash.
I can't figure out if they did or not. To tell you the truth, I don't know. Like, Jimmy is making sense with his point on it, but I also think, like, some of them went on to kind of live life and died.
Jack saw the Ajira 316 plane flying away. Kate and Sawyer and Claire, they all left. They all left the island. He saw them flying away. That was the last scene. And I think they all went on and they lived their lives. And then when they all died, then they all left together.
But why would they all leave together? Doesn't make any sense. A bunch of people survive a plane crash on some weird island, and then they escape off on a plane. It doesn't make any sense to me.
But it's a mystery show.
I know, but I mean, even I understand that. But in the context of a mystery show,
I don't know.
I don't get that at all.
I don't know. There's things that we are supposed to be debating, right now.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't think that I saw the plane leave and all that, but I don't think that I don't think they would have had him die in the exact same spot.
I thought there were going to be answers.
There were a lot, but
maybe you guys will find out more next week. Oh, that's right. It's over.
No, I'll watch it again, and maybe
pick up on some stuff,
just to kind of get the whole gist, or to see if I could pick up on something.
I'm so glad I never watched this
the
crappy
battle
show.
of good and evil. It was like which way do they go? How do they all these temptations and working out this final thing before they move on? That's all. That's Man in Black and Smoke Monster. It was all this very final
basic
thing.
good and evil kind of thing.
Yes.
Did you guys learn what the Smoke Monster was at least?
Yeah, they explained all that stuff.
Yeah, they explained all that. But there is a basic good and evil thing, and that's why, like, Ben couldn't go on. He still had some evilness to deal with.
Yeah.
The other people that had done bad things kind of atoned for their shit.
Or
by
worked it out and came
being
to peace with
generally
themselves.
Good people, or
Kate and Claire, they all had things that they had to come to peace with. So to me, they all came to peace with that and then moved on together. But it all happened that fucking. It was like somebody walked in and shot us all in this room. We would all be dead instantly. But in that, however you want to break down a second before we died,
we'd look at some fat producer with a gun.
Yes, in a white polar bear outfit.
Well, you guys want phone calls?
Oh,
Where you
yeah,
want
I'm
to go
very
with this?
interested to hear.
Yeah?
Yes, they're lit.
All right, let's go with Coke Logic. Why not? Let's go with the Coke Man. Coke Logic, what's up, buddy?
Good evening.
Hello.
I loved Lost last night.
Yeah, me too.
Hey.
Episode.
Yeah.
I will say, Jimmy, totally wrong. They didn't die in the plane crash in the original plane crash.
No?
The whole sideways thing is like everything went in a straight timeline. Like there was no split at the Jughead. That was whatever happened. They caused the same thing that crashed their plane, which was making the Swan hatch and all that stuff. Everything was linear. Then eventually, people died before Jack and people died after Jack. And that was kind of the, once the spirits all were dead, time is kind of like, it's relative, so it was all in a moment. So their spirits, whatever that fucking energy is out there, wanted to reconnect. So they created this alternate timeline where they could be awakened. When they had deja vu moments, it would jog their memory and they'd remember their old lives. And then they moved on from there. It was kind of like the alternate reality was a meeting place. It was like a lobby on an Xbox Live chat thing or something,
I understand that.
But why were they having lives then in this alternate place? Meaning, like, they have this linear thing, and then in the Flash Sideways, they have this whole other thing. Why does Jack have a son there?
Because in this timeline, there was no island, there was no Jacob. Jacob never brought Richard to the island. There's a whole chain of events that never happened. So with the butterfly effect, different things happened.
Right.
Jack had a son because he didn't fucking pull out one time.
Right, and he had married Juliet.
Yeah. And didn't that set you off? She had a different last name in this timeline. They have introduce a husband character that we don't even see. It's kind of gay.
Who did?
Juliet. She was says Juliet Burke. She was Juliet Carlson or something. It's like, why fucking have her remarry? I had nothing to do with nothing, but yeah, I fucking loved it. Fucking enjoyed it.
I don't necessarily agree with you, but I thought it was. I did think it was very good. It was much better than I thought it was going to be. Either way, whatever happens with whether I'm right or wrong, I still loved it. It was still great.
I'm really surprised at how positive the reviews are. Like online, like immediately, I thought everyone was really going to have a problem with it because in the 2.5 hours there weren't a ton of like real huge, answers. And I know that everybody just wanted answer.
I think they were limited to a certain degree by the amount of actors they could get. There was certain problems they had, like the Michael Walt problem, because Walt, which I thought they made a mistake. They should have put Michael in the church at the end with some little black kid that looked like they could have.
A lot of people were saying that since it was heaven, there were no black people. I
said that to my girlfriend. Right after she said to me, "Who do you think has the biggest cock on Lost?" Because she did say that.
Because a lot of people noticed that the black characters were not there in the church.
Yeah, I really thought they should have had Michael there. It was
well, Michael was an evil fuck that did some bad things, and maybe he had to spend some more time
Anna Lucia,
atoning.
Hurley said she's not ready yet. Anna Lucia wasn't there.
Yeah, she did some nasty shit, too.
Again, I still don't think that meant that whole life happened. I find it much easier to take that it was that fast. Much easier for me.
I don't know. I really just don't fucking know.
Because, I forgot what I was going to say.
Let's go to Brad.
It's so hard to, wrap your mind around some of this shit.
Let's go to Brad in Atlanta. Brad.
Hey, boys.
Hey,
Brad.
Hi, Brad.
I thought it was an awesome episode, but I was just wondering, I know you guys have all been on sets before. Anthony, did you notice the camera tripod cases everywhere?
No.
Where were they?
Oh, they were on the dock when the sub blew up. There was one floating. I mean, I don't know if it was laziness or just the camera department being like, us too.
I didn't notice, honestly.
I didn't notice that.
There's a tripod theory.
Yeah, right? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Do tripods float?
By the way, this is why the newspapers are just shit. Like the Post talks about it. The Daily News, I guess, wrapped up shop early and has nothing. Unless I'm missing something.
No, I went through the whole
They
thing.
have nothing on Lost,
No.
and then they'll have something tomorrow. It's like you dummies.
They had to go to bed early. They were
We do have
sleepyheads.
that's the earliest edition.
I
so
know that, but
maybe
that's why
maybe a little later in
newspapers.
the
there is a Daily News. There's a review online that I've already read.
Exactly online. Fucking all of it's gonna be online.
Only old people buy newspapers.
It really
Jimmy,
is
what Travis is
shitty.
trying to tell you. Where do you guys want to go with it? I'll just
call her.
All right, let's go to Diane in Connecticut. Diane.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hi,
I loved
Diane.
the episode last night. I viewed the plane crash as more like a symbolic, like these people had already died, and the plane crash was kind of what took them to purgatory or whatever. And then the island was them having to redeem themselves. I don't think they knew each other before they got to the island. I think they were just a random bunch of people that had all died, and when the plane was filled up, it dropped them off, and that was their redemption. They had to prove themselves. And I think the Flash Sideways were kind of like, okay, now that you know these people, if you had known them before, this is what your life would have been like.
Yeah. Somebody here is saying when the alternate timeline was made when Jacob touched everybody when they were throughout their lives.
Right,
Jacob
right.
kind of, but that doesn't quite.
No,
what was that then? What was that when Jacob started like he saw Kate when she was a kid?
Yeah, he was marking his candidates.
Well, I think that he was a symbolic God, and it was showing how he was trying to show them, like, listen, be good now because then you won't be stuck in purgatory.
Well, he was also keeping them from being killed by touching them because none of them died. But I really think that the Flash Sideways was their way of I think resolving in that moment of death what they thought they wanted, in a way getting what they thought they wanted. And they wound up, I believe, in the same place.
Oh. Yeah, I think you're completely right in that respect. I disagree with you with the plane crashing, but yeah, the Flash Sideways is something that they created to, get what they
thought they wanted. Hurley wanted to be positive and do all this stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to go through the other ones, what this one wanted, what that one wanted, and they all, I guess, in a way, got what they wanted, but still kind of wound up in the same place.
And the Flash Sideways kind of showed, the best of their characters. Like, it was the life when they were the best person they were.
Right, yeah.
Like, the God or whatever he was, Jacob, showing him, like, this is how good you can be. Like, just be this person in the flash sideways and you're going to move on. So it was, I saw it as, like, the flash sideways was, like, the best part of them.
I'm trying to think. No, because Saeed was still shitty in the flash sideways, but he thought he wanted Nadia to be safe. He wanted Nadia to be safe, and she was safe, but by being safe, he couldn't have her.
Right.
But he was still
and the
shitty.
Flash forwards, they were kind of all, like, the worst. You know what I mean? Like, Jack was, like, hooked on drugs, and, like, so the flash forwards were very different, where they were the worst people, and then the flash sideways, they were the best people. That's just the way I saw it.
All right, maybe that's the interpretation of it, but it's. I still think it happened in a very short period of time.
Yes, I think it was like instantly, like they died, they went to wherever they went to, they redeemed themselves, and then they moved. Those who moved on, moved on.
And the plane crash, by the way, I really think was just what killed them. I disagree with you there. I think the plane crash killed them.
Yeah, it was
I don't know.
awesome. Whatever it was just awesome.
The fact that it closed on him in the exact spot that the series opened, and on the wreckage with nothing there. There was no sign that they had ever been there except a wrecked plane on the beach. To me, those two images were too definite a message to be just part of what is a circular, or you said full circle. Those two images kind of, I always felt that way, but when I saw that and then close on the wreckage, I'm like, it doesn't make sense for them to close on those exact images if that's not what it was.
No, I agree totally. I agree.
Then what about the people that?
Guys, thank you.
All right. What about the people that weren't on the plane that were there? Like, what about,
Dharma people and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly.
People that
honestly
came on the boat. People that came like where were they?
The way I interpreted the
Interpreted.
exactly.
Yeah.
Sounds like one of those black prison scholars.
We were all up till
Interpreted.
It was a long night. The absolute final scenes with just the plane crash, the wreckage.
Yeah.
I just saw that as them showing just a scene from what happened in the beginning of the series. I didn't view that the same way that you did.
Okay.
As the ending of
I just saw that as like, this wreckage is still here on this island because it is. It's still sitting there.
I looked at it like this is all it ever was. This plane just fucking crashed, and this is all it ever was.
Everyone
a
died
wrecked plane, and this is where this dumb doctor died, right in the fucking weeds. His eyes never opened.
Yeah.
Never. No.
Let me say hi to Rich in Buffalo. Rich.
Hello.
Hello, Rich.
Stubborn Jimmy. Wrong.
Maybe.
Here's the deal.
But I'm not being rich. I'm not being stubborn. That's just how I saw it.
Yeah.
No. Well, here's the deal. At the very end, where the father, Christian Shepherd, explains to him that time period was the most important time of their lives, as they needed each other and all that. Go back and watch that.
Yeah, that could have been a split second. Also,
No.
the most important time because it's when they were dying.
No, Coke Logic said it right. He basically said that this was like a place that they all made together so that they could meet up later. Because I think, Anthony, you just said that why were there people who were not on the plane there?
Yeah.
Some people die before you, some people die after you, but time means nothing there. So ultimately, they all met up, in this place before moving on.
But the people that died that weren't on the plane crash could have gotten there from other means. So to me, when you move on, you encounter other people who are dying at the same time or also dying and trying to move on. It's almost like you all get thrown into a waiting room together. Whether it's now, I don't know if the island was.
How would they know each other then?
What's that?
Then how would they know each other then?
What do you mean? How would they know each other?
Because Penny knew all the other people and whatnot.
And again, maybe a lot of that happens in that split second. I don't know exactly how they would know each other. I don't know. But you're not explaining it any better to me.
If they died in the plane crash, why, when they're in the church, then is everyone so happy to see all of these people that if they all died on the plane crash, they have no memories of each other?
Because I think that all of their relationship or their memories happens in that moment of dying together. And I think that they're all these people who went through this thing in again, what was a split second for us, but for them,
Relative,
it is very
yeah.
linear and did happen. You did have all these moments and
They
these.
didn't know each other in that split second.
In a
They didn't know each other.
in a human split second,
Yeah.
but in a spiritual split second, all of that shit could have happened.
Yeah,
everything from the plane crash to the very ending could have happened in a human split second, but could have been this big long epic, which it was 6-year series that spiritually can seem like it took years.
Yeah.
Nah.
You guys think it-
Nah, but you didn't explain it any better, sir.
He just goes,
No,
nah.
Folk
You
logic
can't-
has the best explanations for it.
I didn't
Well-
agree with his explanation. I heard it, and he did make sense. It's
Yeah.
not the way I saw it.
None of these aren't
Sideways
making
wasn't-
sense, by the way.
What's
like,
that?
The Flash sideways wasn't a sideways at all. It's just that them living in that kind of pre-awakening, almost a heaven, where everything they wanted was kind of happening for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, we.
But
kind
then
of
they
agreed
all
with
just
that.
died together.
they ultimately, when they were all ready to move on, they had this place where they could be awakened, and Desmond was the key to that. But
So
Christian
none of them
Shepherd
had
was
any
the-
family. None of them had any family other than Jack and his dad. None of them had anybody that they wanted to see there except for the one person they had been with coincidentally all this time.
That was the most important time in people in their lives. So,
Well, to me,
Yeah.
when you're fighting to move on spiritually, that's a pretty important time.
Well, if you go down the list of characters, yeah, Kate didn't have anyone.
no.
Sawyer didn't have anyone.
Earlier, but his mother.
Well,
I just didn't make sense. To me, I still think they all died together. I've heard no explanation, and Coke made some good sense. No explanation that says that they did not all die together in
Well,
that
I
moment.
was really mad at Walt. There was no issue. There was no resolution of Walt or anything.
That was poorly done because, again, sometimes you have to get somebody. If they had to get just a young black actor who kind of resembled him, at least it would have wrapped up the story for us. Even if we knew it was a different actor, at least we would have known. Okay, that's what happened to Walt and his father. That was kind of annoying that they didn't let those two move on. It was like, come on, it's like you can't get, especially in that spiritual vibe there. You can't just get a small kid like that. That was kind of dumb.
all right, Jimmy, you're being asked here. Then why was Penny in the church there? She wasn't on the plane or anything.
I don't know.
Like, if that happened and they all died in the plane crash and stuff, why the fuck was Penny there?
Desmond
Penny.
wasn't on the plane either.
Penny? Yeah, Desmond wasn't on the plane either.
Were
And
they
he
really
was
not
key.
on the plane, though? Because Desmond said, I was sitting next to you on the plane. I was sitting next to you on the plane. He said to him, they showed him talking to Jack on the plane. There might have been a thing where they really were all on that plane and they took on these different roles when they hit. Again, I don't know. I'm not saying I can explain it all, but to me, it's not that crazy that they were all on the plane because to be this completely well, it doesn't make logical sense. Logically, they didn't show Mr. Echo at the end. There's a lot of things they didn't tie up either, which I think they could have done a better job of if they had gotten these actors.
It's one of those things you're just gonna like. No one's wrong. I mean, it's
Well,
it's
somebody is. The
fucking-
writers had a vision. The guy, like, you know who would be able to tell you is the two creators
Yeah, I guess so.
or JJ. They would say, "No, Jim, you're wrong. They really did do this. We're traveling." They would be able to say, "This is what our intention was, at least."
But obviously, they didn't want that conveyed because they wanted people to kind of just mull it over and have these discussions.
And I love it. Like to Jim, it's completely obvious, and to me, it's completely obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So you get two people with different ideas.
But I'm not so
completely-
married to it though that I know for 100% fact I'm right. I just haven't heard any. I've heard good explanations, but none that have made me go, "Oh my God, yeah!" Like again, the creators explained it. They might be able to say that one thing that makes you go, "Oh fuck." Maybe other people, other people seem to have their own take on it. I thought it was great though.
Because
I thought
I'm
it was
reading
great.
other people's stuff that just it sounds just as good and just as reasonable. But I don't know.
All right. You got someone that agrees with Jimmy. Jim is wrong for a few different reasons.
Let me hear that guy.
Lost is the gayest show on TV. Let's say hi to Joe in Pennsylvania. Joe.
Hey, boys. Good morning.
Hi, Joe.
Good morning, Joe.
Hey, Jimmy. I mostly agree. I think Coke logic is 100% right, and I kind of thought that before I heard his explanation. But and if you can tell me, according to your theory, what's going on at the end then when Jack sees that Ajira flight take off? Like, how can you explain that underneath your theory?
Because the way I look at it is he's still in that moment. Like, he is still living, like, he just got stabbed by a guy who looked like John Locke. He is still in that moment. He doesn't leave that moment until his eyes close. To me, you know what I mean? He's still in that whole, anything that happens there is still in that split second. I don't know exactly how to explain that flight leaving, but to me, that explains it a lot easier than, they took off, landed, had a good life, met up eventually, and then to me, that makes a lot more sense the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, you know what? That whole plane taking off thing was a little too far-fetched for it to be literal. Like, I don't see that plane turning around in the sand after sitting on a beach, and this guy just starts it up and takes this fucking pretty much wrecked plane off. I don't see it as literally they left on the fucking plane.
No, I didn't
It's
either.
some kind of figurative, symbolic thing that happened, but I can't fucking wrap my mind around it yet.
No,
like
I
I
don't.
said, after a few more viewings, maybe.
I don't think that they literally left on that plane either.
Yeah.
See, I do.
Well, one of the questions
You do.
you
Yeah,
guys
I do.
had was, sorry,
Go ahead.
your show.
No, go ahead, Ben.
One of the questions you guys had was like, well, when did Kate die? When did Sawyer die? I kind of thought they probably crashed 10 seconds after Jack saw that plane, because it's so ridiculous to think that thing was worthy of flying. So,
But do you see what I mean? Like,
when they died, they probably crashed into the ocean right after Jack
you're
saw that.
you're adding a whole new plane crash. Like, how is what I'm saying so crazy that you're adding a plane crash? Like, to be linear, if you're going to be linear, there's a whole lot more to swallow than this is what happens when you die. It's almost like your whole life flashes before your eyes. They say that you see your whole life in a split second. Well, again, in that same time frame where you're not really seeing you can't see every moment of your life in a second, but it probably feels like you can. That's what this is. But I don't believe that this dopey Lapidus, I don't believe that Miles was able to fix a fucking aircraft with duct tape, and then they were able to take
you
off.
Never saw that MythBusters episode?
As the
It's
island was
amazing.
cracking, and then the plane takes off out of dirt. It backs up out of palm trees and takes off out of dirt, and then they just die somewhere down the road of fucking cancer and a fucking prostate swelling. And then all of a sudden, these guys are all meeting them in a church, or they happen to be people, some who knew each other, some who didn't, who were thrown together in a moment of death, and their bond became, they helped each other get beyond this most important thing, which was the transition from life into death.
Now, the people that were on the island already, what if they were experiencing some death experience somewhere else? But they're all brought together in this place to kind of make restitution and things
Possible.
like that.
Maybe the island maybe the island itself isn't where the plane crashed. Maybe the island is the place that they see in that moment of death.
Right.
Maybe that's where they all go. They're all thrown on this island and go, all right, you did okay while you were alive. You did okay, but you have a lot of baggage with you, and here is where you fix that before you fucking go on to the next level.
And that would kind of explain all this coincidental meeting that they all had,
Right.
because that never really, that kind of was just things being resolved in their head as they were there together on this fucking island.
Maybe the flashbacks were very
idea
literal.
now.
The flashbacks may have been actual, just things to let us know what these people were
what
like,
they
what
were
their
about.
lives were like.
That's what I kind of see. But as far as the sideways go,
I also think the flash forward and the flash sideways were things that were just happening. Again, they're trying to just punch their way out of this fucking bag. They're trying to find the right way to get resolution and then go.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like there's more questions than answers, guys.
Well, that's for sure.
Who's the person that agrees with me? There's been none so far.
Well, Misty, but I want to go on to Chris has this Jacob's Ladder theory. Chris,
Okay.
Chris, what's up, Chris?
Morning. I was kind of disappointed because my first thought was this is purgatory when they crashed.
Yes.
And that's kind of how the whole movie played out was, if you remember Timothy Hutton and Jacob's Ladder, in that second that he was dying on the operating table, he lived an entire whole nother life, which was an atonement for all the mistakes he made while he was really living. And that's basically what this was. They were all just trying to atone for the mistakes that they had made so that they could move on. And I saw Jacob as basically just an angel that was trying to guide them to the light.
Or maybe guiding them to the light, right? Or some kind of a decision they had to make before they moved on. Maybe him and his dopey brother were just both there with kind of like to tempt them either way. Like you're either going to go up or you're going to go down. You know, it's a very basic belief in heaven and hell or whatever you look at.
Yeah, but it was basically just a remake of Jacob's Ladder, only over 6 years.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember Jake. I saw it many, many years ago. I just don't remember it.
Louis Black is in that, really.
Yes,
quick.
he is.
He plays a doctor.
Yeah.
But more importantly, who is the manager for Drive Shaft booking such an awful gig for them?
What a terrible concert that was. That was a terrible concert.
That was awful.
And Daniel Farraday, that hat. And he wore that hat on Kimmel. I would love to see that hat removed in a vestibule by Walt's fist. That fucking hat Daniel Farraday had on was horrendous.
Terrible.
See, Kimmel, to me, Matthew Fox on Kimmel, and Kimmel was okay. I mean, but I did kind of like, you saw it, right? To me, Matthew Fox even said, they were talking about having it, Kimmel said something like, he thought that this whole series was Jack's test, I guess, about moving on. And Jack, and Matthew said something like, yeah, kind of. He goes, but that happens in different time periods. For some people, that happens in a nanosecond, and for some people, it happens over a longer period of time. But when he said that, it kind of confirmed what I thought.
That kind of open-ended, though, where it could have been both.
I have to jump in because I have that audio you're talking about right here.
I want to present you, if I could, with my theory on what happened. Okay? So, in a lot of religions, Christianity being one of them, the idea is that life is a test, that you go through your life, and if you're good, you go to heaven or nirvana or whatever, and if you're bad, you don't. You go to hell or you don't go anywhere. My theory is that the whole show, from beginning to end, we were watching Jack's test, his test. And his life on the island, I think, was his real life.
Yes.
And you think so? Okay,
I completely agree.
I'm on a roll.
Yeah, yep.
And obviously Jack passed the test.
Yes.
And maybe each of the characters has their own story and their own test, but this show, I think, was Jack's test.
I would agree with that. I mean,
I'm so proud of myself right now. You have no idea.
Then this is his answer, though. Huh? They don't have Matthew Fox's response? He just gave you Kimmel and not the guy who was in the show? You got Leno's commentary, too? How about fucking...
He's just ready to say something.
Where's Matthew Fox's response?
Matthew Fox is just ready to say something.
Do we have that, Oprah? That's all he gave us?
It would still be playing if we had it, wouldn't it?
What's the deal with Faraday's mother and Faraday?
That's my biggest question.
Because she asked... are you taking my son, right?
Yeah, she was not happy that Desmond was continuing
doing these shenanigans.
And I want to know why.
And then he said no, but he's not.
Maybe the mother's in purgatory, or maybe the mother is dead as well, and maybe she's having some time with her son, and she's saying, are you taking my son? Meaning, is he moving on now?
Oh, okay.
And he goes, no, not yet.
You know something? That makes sense.
So maybe she was finally enjoying some time with her son in this place, and she wasn't ready to move on, and she was afraid that he was.
Oh, okay. I'll buy that.
Well, a couple more here. Let's say hi to Mike in Union.
What's up, guys?
Ike?
What's up, Mike?
Hi, Mike.
Nice.
Very good.
Hey, I think that when they were in the church, Jack was talking to his father. They kind of touched on something, and I apologize if this is already talked about. I'm just jumping in. But his father had said to him that he thinks, he said everybody dies, but it's at different times. So what I was kind of taking from it is they went back in time, they detonated a bomb, created the alternate timeline, and it is real. And then in that timeline, they're all sort of realizing that at some point or another, they did all die, and now they're just coming together, realizing their other life and the other theme of the show is whatever happened, happened. So at the end of the day, everything still happened. They still lived that first life, and now they're all coming back together. that already touched on, or?
Yeah, it's kind of the point Travis was making, but I don't agree with it because it leaves too much to be taken literally that I can't buy, and too much to be just kind of thrown out. Like they give you over 6 years, and then just to never show you Sawyer's death, or Juliet's death, or Kate's death, or Claire's death, or Mike, to not show you any of their actual deaths, and to only kind of in some weird way show you the deaths of the other people, and then, you know.
Well, I think the only people that you didn't really see die were those people who did, in fact, leave on the plane. As even though obviously tying a hydraulic system with duct tape is a little bit silly, but I actually do think that they were implying they actually left, and that at some point they died. And the reason I say that is because when Jack talked to Kate at the concert, she remembered him and she said, "I missed you so much." And so what she, I think, was implying was during the rest of her actual life, she remembered him and she missed him all during that time.
What?
What about people that were getting killed on the island, like shot and stuff like that?
Again, that
Like,
may
what was that?
That may have been their moving on, and the actions of whoever was shooting them may have added or taken away from their atonement. I don't know exactly.
We got the answer from Kimmel last night.
I'll find Matthew Fox. Thanks.
Here we go.
But at the same time, I mean, I think what's beautiful of the way that it ends is that it's room for interpretation
weird.
depending on people's spiritual beliefs. You know, I think there are also religions that believe that when you die, you go to a place, and that place can last for a nanosecond or it can be an extended period of time, where you have to remember your own death and all of the people that were instrumental, that you loved the most and helped you the most and were the most important to you. You have to remember all of them, and in remembering them, lead up to the moment that you died before you can move on to whatever's next.
I want to look at a clip from the first episode of this season.
And that's all that he said.
Yeah.
But that to me does not say, it doesn't definitively say what I'm saying is 100% right either, but it absolutely does not say, yes, that was all literal and that all happened.
No.
Well, how about
that's
one
why
of
I said that's why it's so beautiful. It's left open to
But
interpretation.
he had just, Matthew Fox said he had
motherfuckers.
actually just seen he had just watched the finale. He came out like almost a little misty-eyed. He was saying he had just seen, like
Yeah, he was
knew,
blown away by it,
He
I
knew
heard.
that it ended with the eye closing, but he did not, I think, see it as a whole
Right. Yeah.
image.
Why doesn't one of the creators do an interview and just tell us something?
Maybe they will.
Even if the answer is it's
What's
open
their
to your
motive?
interpretation.
No, they're going into hiding for. They said like
Why?
a year.
What-
They said a
why?
year ago that they're just going to let it sit and let
Oh,
everybody
God, enough
talk
of
like
that
we're talking
crap.
now.
So we're
And
gonna,
eventually, I think.
so we're gonna discuss this like we discussed The Sopranos for
yeah,
years.
exactly. But
Great.
it's better.
Great. Great. Let's say hi to Keith. Keith. No? Okay, you know what, guys? We're going to go to Mr. Know-It-All. Mr. Know-It-All, thank God you're calling the show.
Oh.
What do you have, sir?
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Know-It-All.
Yeah, I want to congratulate Ope.
Thank
No
you.
problem on this show. This thing was left open-ended for a reason. If you'll do some background, the show's creators were really into the Jim Carroll band in the early 80s. You guys probably played their music.
People that died, yes.
You got it. You
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, okay.
They threw that out there so they could get our response as to where this thing could have possibly went. So that's what you got from Mr. Know-It-All. Is there any other questions that's bothering
Mr.
you?
Know-It-All doesn't know anything.
Now, how about Mr. Explain One Thing? Mr. Know-It-All's a cunt.
Yeah, but you didn't ask Mr. Know-It-All a question. What's wrong with you guys? We got an opportunity here. Anyone have a question for Mr. Know-It-All?
Anything. It doesn't matter.
Anything. Come on.
Firearms, politics.
Well, no, I'm not interested in your new character. When did they all die, Mr. Know-It-All?
They all died immediately, within microseconds after the crash. And I never.
I
even
like this
watched
guy.
the episode. I never saw the first episode.
You never saw any of it?
No.
Then why would...
I got a feeling from it. That's what happened.
It's Mr. Feeling All.
I'm serious. I listened to you guys this morning talking about the finale, and I'm thinking it's got to be what happened. Let's go on to something else real quick. I want to keep the energy level up.
No.
Don't blow me, Mr. Know-It-All.
What's wrong with you guys? I love Mr. Know-It-All.
He's an ass.
What do you want to move on to, Mr. Know-It-All?
Hey, anything's open. The oil problem, firearms.
Oh, you said that already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You can give me something.
No.
All right, Mr. Know-It-All. You call back anytime. Thank you,
Guys.
sir.
Have a good day.
The church was in the fourth season. The island must be held because an interracial couple lived there. They were in hell the entire time. Another theory coming in. The island was finding something to live for, and Misty agrees with Jimmy.
The island was fine. What?
Lost is like a 7-layer cake. Oh, I like this. Steve C. checking in. Steve C.
Hello, boys.
Hi, Steve C.
After reviewing the tapes, I realized that Lost is like a 7-layer cake. Each one of the lives is like a layer. You can eat one of those layers at once, but they all go into my big, delicious belly.
Looks like our Lost discussion is falling apart. Falling apart at the seams. All right, why don't we take a break? We can continue with the Lost thing, right?
Yeah, we have a whole big audience, I think, that we're talking to now from... are we on Stars as well?
I think so.
So we're on a lot of the series, people are hearing us for the first time.
Hey, what's up to everyone listening on Stars 2 on Sirius today? For a month, I think, right?
Yeah.
Right on. We better entertain these fuckers. We go to break with Jimmy Kimmel doing a little unnecessary... What is this bit called again? Unnecessary... Danny, help me out. Unnecessary what?
Censorship.
Censorship.
Kimmel does this a lot.
Yep.
It's kind of like when we do the beep game.
Yep.
And
we openly admitted we got that from Kimmel. So
and
he did a Lost version.
Yeah,
of.
I think so. I think he just pulled a lot of clips from the entire series.
All right, cool. Let's check this out as
fun.
we go to break.
Where are you going? I'm going back to your daughter.
Okay, so tonight, I see the same numbers on that hatch thing.
No, I'm not going to be dancing anymore.
I'm gonna you. I'll bring you some antiseptic later.
How about you bring me an ottoman? While you're at it, I could use a blow.
If I him, he's not ever going to be the same again.
Do you have any idea how badly I want to you?
Yes?
You want me to your...
No, I want you to want to
We're gonna have to the boy.
What? What'd you say?
I'm not in front of you.
Okay. Tell you what, you do this. You get my father down here. Get him down here right now. And if I'm drunker than he is, you can me. I your son's dog.
What?